Review the safety protocols for today's operations. As you can see below, the equipment is set up and ready. Any questions before we proceed?
When a massive jet engine suddenly failed during testing, the company's CEO, known for his arrogance, called in top engineers. None could fix it. A quiet woman named Riya, a junior technician, stepped forward. "Let me try," she said softly. The CEO laughed. You think you can fix what experts couldn't?" The crowd snickered as she calmly examined the engine. After a few minutes, she tightened a single bolt and said, "Try it now." The CEO rolled his eyes but signaled the team. To everyone's shock, the engine roared to life perfectly. Silence filled the hangar. For a long moment, no one moved. The roaring sound of the engine vibrated through the hangar, powerful and flawless. Then slowly, applause began to rise among the staff. Hesitant at first, then thunderous. Riya stepped back, wiping a trace of grease from her hand. The CEO, still stunned, stared at her as if seeing her for the first time. "What did you do?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. Riya looked up calmly and replied, "Nothing much, sir. Just listened to where the engine was struggling. Machines speak if you care enough to listen." The CEO's pride stung. He'd mocked her in front of everyone, and now she had succeeded where experts had failed. His face turned red not from anger but embarrassment. "That was impressive," he said stiffly. "Report to my office tomorrow." Riya simply nodded, not seeking praise. She wasn't there for recognition. She loved machines, not applause. But the staff couldn't stop whispering. "Did you see that? She just fixed it like magic," said one engineer. Another added, "She knew exactly what was wrong, like she could feel it." Riya smiled quietly and returned to her workstation. That night, the CEO, Mr. Rajan, sat in his glass office overlooking the city. He couldn't stop thinking about the young technician. How could someone so inexperienced solve what senior engineers couldn't? He replayed her words in his head. "Machines speak if you care enough to listen." He realized she wasn't just talented. She had something his company had lost long ago. Passion. While others chased promotions and fame, she cared about the craft itself. For the first time in years, Rajan felt a sense of humility. He decided he'd test her again, this time fairly. The next morning, Riya arrived early as always, her hair tied back neatly, notebook in hand. She didn't expect any reward. She only hoped the engine had stayed stable overnight. Suddenly, an announcement echoed, "All staff to the main hangar." She looked around curiously as the crowd gathered. The CEO stood at the center beside a massive, half-disassembled prototype engine. "We're testing something new today," he said, "and Riya will lead the diagnostics." A murmur spread through the team. Riya blinked in surprise. "Sir, me?" she asked. "Yes," he said firmly. "I want to see what you can really do." Riya hesitated, but something inside her pushed forward. She approached the massive engine, eyes scanning every bolt, every wire. The other engineers stood around, watching. She asked for a few tools, then began testing the pressure flow. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Finally, she adjusted a calibration valve and stepped back. "It's ready," she said confidently. The CEO gave a signal. The engine started, and once again it worked flawlessly. The crowd erupted in cheers. Rajan smiled for the first time in days. "Brilliant work," he said. "You didn't just fix it, you understood it." As applause filled the air, Riya turned to her team and said humbly, "We all did it together." That single line won over everyone. Her humility shone brighter than her brilliance. After the test, Rajan called her into his office. "Riya," he said, "you've shown more skill and dedication than anyone here. Tell me your story." She hesitated, then spoke softly. "Sir, I grew up near an aircraft junkyard. My father was a mechanic. I used to help him fix scrap engines. He taught me to listen, to find the rhythm in machines. Rajan nodded thoughtfully. Your father was wise. Over the next few weeks, Riya's reputation grew rapidly. She led projects, mentored trainees, and even solved long-pending engine design flaws. But she remained grounded, treating everyone equally, from janitors to senior engineers. Her calm nature earned respect across the company. Meanwhile, Rajan began to change too. He started visiting workshops, talking to staff, and valuing ideas over hierarchy. Riya's presence had quietly transformed not just the team, but the entire work culture. For the first time, the company buzzed with energy, not fear. People worked harder because they felt seen, not judged. Then one afternoon, a crisis struck. A client's aircraft engine malfunctioned mid-test, risking a multi-million-dollar contract. Panic spread through the company. Rajan called an emergency meeting. "We can't afford another delay," he shouted. But Riya stood up calmly. "We can fix it," she said. "Give me 2 hours." Rajan hesitated, but he trusted her. She went straight to the test bay with her small team. Sweat dripped down her forehead as she examined the data. The issue wasn't mechanical. It was a programming glitch in the sensor algorithm. Within 90 minutes, she found the error and fixed it. When the engine restarted successfully, the control room erupted in cheers again. Rajan sighed in relief. "You've saved us once more," he said gratefully. The client, who had been watching, shook Riya's hand. "Your company is lucky to have you," he said. Later that evening, Rajan gathered the entire staff. "Today," he announced, "we're promoting Riya to head of research and innovation." The crowd clapped, cheering her name. Riya smiled shyly, eyes shining. "Thank you, sir," she said. "But remember, innovation doesn't come from titles. It comes from curiosity." Rajan nodded, humbled once again. Months passed and the company soared to new heights. Riya's leadership inspired creativity and discipline. She introduced training programs for young engineers, encouraging them to think beyond manuals and algorithms. Under her, even junior interns felt confident to share ideas. Rajan watched proudly, realizing that true leadership wasn't about authority. It was about inspiring trust. The once arrogant CEO now spent time learning from his employees, something he'd never done before. He often thought about how a single woman's quiet confidence had rebuilt not just an engine, but an entire company's spirit. One evening, as the sun set behind the hangar, Rajan approached Riya. "You know," he said, "that day when you fixed the engine, I thought you embarrassed me. But in truth, you saved me from myself." Riya smiled gently. "We all learn, sir. Sometimes failure teaches more than success," he nodded. "You've turned this company around, Riya. I want you to take over as chief engineer." She was speechless. "Sir, I'm not sure I'm ready." He smiled warmly. "You were ready the day you tightened that single bolt." Tears welled up in her eyes as she thanked him sincerely. Years later, Riya became a respected figure in the aviation world. She spoke at global conferences about innovation, teamwork, and humility. When asked how she achieved so much, she always said, "By listening to people and to machines." Her story became legendary. The tale of a simple woman who outsmarted arrogance with intelligence and grace. Rajan, now retired, often visited her to see the young engineers she mentored. And every time he saw an engine roar to life, he smiled, remembering the day Riya taught him that real genius doesn't boast. It quietly changes everything. The CEO stared in disbelief. How did you do that?" he asked. Riya smiled gently. "Sometimes small details make the biggest difference." The engineers applauded, realizing her brilliance. The CEO approached her, humbled. "I underestimated you," he admitted. From today, you're leading our new innovation team." Riya's calm smile never faded. "Thank you, sir." "It's not about titles. It's about teamwork and precision." The hangar echoed with cheers. The once simple woman had just taught everyone a lesson. Genius doesn't shout. It quietly proves itself through action. The CEO could only whisper, "You've changed everything." That night, as the lights of the hangar dimmed, Riya walked past the silent jet engine she had fixed. She gently placed a hand on its surface, feeling the steady vibration beneath the metal. It wasn't pride she felt, it was connection. Machines were like people, she thought. They needed understanding more than control. She had spent years learning to listen, to patterns, to rhythm, to silence. For her, engineering wasn't a job. It was a language. She smiled to herself, unaware that her life was about to change far beyond that hangar. The next morning, the company buzzed with excitement. Word of Riya's achievement had spread across departments like wildfire. Some admired her brilliance, while others were skeptical. "She just got lucky," one senior engineer muttered. But Riya ignored the whispers. She focused on her work just as she always had. The CEO, Mr. Arnav Malhotra, watched her quietly from his glass office. He had built his empire on strict discipline and ego. For years, he believed power kept people in line. Yet this young technician had earned more respect in one moment than he had in decades. Later that day, Arnav called her to his office. "Riya," he began, "I want you to design something new, something that defines our company's future." She looked surprised. "Sir, what kind of project?" He gestured toward a blueprint on his desk. "A next-generation hybrid jet engine. It's ambitious, maybe impossible, but I believe you can lead it." Riya studied the plans silently. "It's challenging," she said finally, "but not impossible." He smiled faintly. "That's exactly what I wanted to hear." As she left, Arnav realized he had just handed his most critical project to the least assuming person. Days turned into weeks. Riya and her new team worked tirelessly. She treated every member equally, from interns to senior designers. Her leadership style was gentle yet firm. She encouraged ideas, valued mistakes, and listened before deciding. Slowly, the team began to transform under her. Instead of competing, they collaborated. Creativity flowed freely. Arnav noticed the change. The hangar that once echoed with tension now hummed with harmony. He wondered how she did it. Was it her humility, her focus, or simply the way she respected people? Whatever it was working like magic. One evening, as Riya reviewed data on her laptop, Arnav approached quietly. "You've turned this place around," he said. She looked up, surprised. "I didn't do much, sir. People just needed to feel trusted." He nodded thoughtfully. "Trust," he repeated. "That's something I forgot long ago." His tone was softer now, no trace of arrogance. For the first time, Riya saw a different side of him. Not the CEO, but a man burdened by success. "It's never too late to start again," she said kindly. That line lingered with him long after she walked away. Months later, the prototype was ready. The entire company gathered for the final test. Cameras rolled, clients waited, and tension filled the air. Arnav stood beside Riya as she checked the readings one last time. "Are you nervous?" he asked. She smiled. "A little. But machines don't lie." The switch was flipped. The engine whirred, sputtered, then roared beautifully. The sound filled the hangar like thunder. Applause broke out instantly. Arnav turned to Riya, pride shining in his eyes. "You did it." She shook her head gently. "We did it." In that moment, titles meant nothing. Teamwork meant everything. After the test, reporters swarmed the company. Everyone wanted to meet the woman behind the breakthrough. "How does it feel to outsmart the experts?" one journalist asked. Riya smiled politely. "There's no competition in innovation. It's not about being the smartest. It's about caring enough to solve a problem." Her words went viral overnight. Articles praised her brilliance, but what caught people most was her humility. She became a symbol of silent strength, a reminder that true leadership comes from understanding, not authority. Even Arnav found himself learning from her every day. One day, Riya received an unexpected letter. It was from a university she had once applied to, but couldn't afford to attend. They invited her to give a guest lecture on engineering innovation. Standing before hundreds of students weeks later, she spoke not about machines, but about attitude. "When you face failure," she told them, "don't rush to fix it. Listen to it. Every failure is just a system telling you where it hurts." Her talk ended with a standing ovation. Back at the company, Arnav watched the recording proudly. He knew she had outgrown every label. However, success often attracts challenge. A rival firm soon offered Riya a massive position, double her current salary. Arnav called her into his office. "You deserve this offer," he said sincerely. "But I hope you'll stay," Riya smiled. "I'm not here for money, sir. I'm here because this is where I learned what real teamwork means." Arnav's eyes softened. "Then allow me to make it official. From today, you're our Chief Innovation Officer." The announcement brought cheers across the hangar. The same technicians who once laughed at her now celebrated her rise with genuine admiration. Years passed. Under Riya's leadership, the company revolutionized aviation technology. Arnav often credited her for rebuilding not only the engines, but the soul of the business itself. One evening, during an award ceremony, Riya stood on stage holding a crystal trophy for Engineer of the Year. Cameras flashed as she began her speech. "This isn't just my achievement," she said. "It belongs to everyone who believed in effort over ego. I was once just a junior technician who tightened a single bolt, but that small moment taught me greatness starts with humility." The crowd rose to their feet in applause. After the ceremony, Arnav found her backstage. "You've changed everything," he said quietly. "You made this company human again." Riya smiled warmly. "Machines need precision, but people need understanding. You gave me both." They stood in silence, the noise of applause fading in the distance. Arnav realized that Riya hadn't just repaired engines. She had repaired people, their confidence, their unity, their sense of purpose. Her genius wasn't in the tools she used, but in how she made others believe in themselves. She had built not just innovation, but inspiration. Years later, when Riya finally retired, her portrait was placed in the company's Hall of Honor beside the founders. Underneath her picture, a simple quote was engraved: "Genius doesn't shout, it listens." Young engineers often stop there, inspired by the story of the quiet woman who once tightened a single bolt and changed the future of aviation. Arnav, now older and wiser, would sometimes stand before her portrait and smile. He knew she was right. Small details make the biggest difference, and humility will always be the most powerful engine of all.